Welcome to the Dental Health Summit. Every year, parents are spending thousands of euro in effort to straighten their children's teeth. And one would say, well, ignoring the real cause behind that. And today, it's a pleasure to have Dr. Mike Mew here with me. He has actually a different approach. Like for him, it's the prime work to ensure a normal development of a child's face and teeth by correcting habits and by using non-invasive methods. And Dr. Mew, you are already in the third generation, as I understand it, an orthodontist.
Yes,
right?
I'm the third generation of my family. Clearly, my grandfather wasn't a specialist orthodontist because no such thing existed at the time.
Yeah.
But we have since then, my father was a specialist. I haven't been a specialist.
Wow, it's really amazing. So I have your father's book here. It's a monumental work on the cause and cure of malocclusion.
Yeah.
And my first question obviously will be what is the real cause of crooked teeth, of this malocclusion, which we have today?
Okay, so this is the question I've been asking. I've been asking, why are teeth crooked? Because we're treating them as if it were genetic. When you look at the answers, we take out teeth if they're extra teeth. We do surgery if the jaws don't line up. So this is the top front teeth. These are the bottom front teeth. Okay. So if the jaws don't line up, so the bottom jaw's set back, or if the bottom jaw's forward, or there's a malalignment of the jaws, we're doing surgery. Now, you do surgery extractions, or we use braces, fixed braces, to make the teeth straight. Okay. So if you do any of those types of things, then you've made the assumption, or those are based upon the belief that crooked teeth is genetic. Okay. Because otherwise you'd find the causes and you prevent them. Because in my viewpoint, medicine is about understanding and treating the cause of the problem.
In theory, yes.
In theory, yes. Now, I think very few people are aware that modern orthodontists don't know the cause of the problem. Within my profession, this is openly admitted. They don't know, they really have no idea. They know the syndromes, but those are very rare. I mean, it's less than 1% of the syndromes. In general, the most common one is thumb sucking, but we know we've got thumb sucking because you end up with the teeth like that. But that's an environmental cause. It was not genetic. They think that sticky forward jaws is genetic. I'd like to see some decent evidence on that. I'm not happy. I think the evidence on that is poor to, at best, it's poor. If not, it's ridiculous. So, they only understand the cause in a few situations. In most situations, they have no idea of the cause of the problem. And when I'm faced with this type of situation, I say, well, did our ancestors have these problems? Because I don't know if our ancestors had type 2 diabetes. We don't think they did. We don't think our ancestors had sleep apnea, which is relevant to what I'm saying. We don't think they did. But I know where our ancestors' teeth were because we've got the skulls in the museums, and they clearly and obviously did not have crooked teeth. They had, they had fantastic broad arches, wide dental smiles. They had all 32 teeth, so that's including their wisdom teeth, usually with a centimeter of spare space behind the wisdom teeth.
It's amazing.
We literally look like a different species from our ancestor. And this is, no one's denying this. It is written in the texts. You ask the anthropologists and the archaeologists. it is there.
So, for example, when reading Western Price, I mean, I guess many viewers are know the work of Western Price. He visited like indigenous tribes, and could notice like those with the original diet had perfectly broad faces, like all teeth were fitting. They had a perfect. The teeth were perfectly aligned, and once they were eating like processed food, like everything seemed to deteriorate.
Yes. Well, of course, Western Price was around at exactly the same time as Edward Mellanby discovered vitamin, wasn't it D? Vitamin D, I think. Anyway, and of course, at the same time, we worked out why lemons or limes were preventing scurvy and vitamin C. And it seemed to be that all of these vitamins were dropping out of the sky, and everyone was assessing them. So I completely understand that Western Price really thought this was a vitamin issue. Mm-hmm. I don't agree with that. I mean, maybe there's a vitamin issue here, and maybe that is part of the problem, but he didn't consider that it was a tough diet. So these people were going on from this really quite hard, rough, tough, hard diet to this processed diet. And of course, because he didn't consider that, I think he missed a trick. Oh. And I think the most important thing, I've got strong muscles. These are hugely strong. And I've got a solid jaw. So my jaw is big enough to hold all my teeth in it. And it's simply use it or lose it. And, I could go and drink a drink. So I could get probably, if I tried, 500 calories in here. A nice hot chocolate with some cream and some sugar and some syrups and these things. And marshmallows, wonderful. And that is a quarter of my calorific, not nutritional, but calorific daily intake for absolutely no muscular exercise at all. I'm not using it. And of course, if I don't use these muscles, I don't develop a strong jaw. And then the other thing that seems to be happening, we're getting all these nasal obstructions. And, as we become more sophisticated, it's not my subject directly, but we know the number of allergies and allergens are going up like that. I was the one guy at school who was asthmatic. I had never heard of a nut allergy in my life. Now, 30% of the kids seem to have allergies, and people are dying from nut allergies. What's going on? Not my subject, but if you have an allergy and you get a blocked nose, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to have to breathe out your mouth. Mm-hmm. Now, the tongue to palate and lip seal, they're two really important reflexes. But however important they are, breathing, that's more important. So initially, as a habit, you have to breathe through your nose. As a habit, you have to breathe out your mouth because you've got a blocked nose. That then becomes a habit. So it's a necessity initially, it then becomes a habit. And these kids are going from this to this. And they've got weak muscles and their faces are dropping down. And this is happening everywhere. If you see these most indigenous peoples, most indigenous peoples have fantastic facial form. There's, you see these guys walking out the African Serengeti, beautiful body posture, beautiful, big, broad smiles. If I look here, and generally it's not one or two people, it's everyone in the tribe. And this is how it seems to be all our ancestors were. And of course, these guys, walking off the African Serengeti, or the guys who are the Australian outback or the Brazilian rainforest, they all seem to they stand up perfectly straight. They have fantastic facial architecture, and they have perfectly straight teeth, almost all of them. And They've never seen an orthodontist. They don't need to wear retainers at night. And most of them have that, all the teeth, including the wisdom teeth, then usually a centimeter of space, of spare space behind the wisdom teeth. And they look just like our ancestors. We don't look like our ancestors. We look like this species, It's as if, we're a waxwork model. We've got our face a little bit too close to the fire, and we're a little bit like we've had a stroke on both sides. Have I got that image?
Like what happened? This is like the people don't move that much, and you already mentioned that before. The diet was like tough. They had to chew to get to their daily caloric intake. And now you basically have a smoothie. You don't have to bite.
We're getting soft.
Yeah.
If you have weak muscles and you hang your mouth in, your face is going to get longer. I mean, I've got some, screen share again. Here, here's a good illustration. Here's a guy who's got muscular dystrophy. And you can see how the face has just dropped down. It's just got like that. And beside the guy with the muscular dystrophy is a tracing. So we've got a tracing, an X-ray tracing over the top, showing how a normal, and that would be a modern normal, not an ancient normal. And you can see this person's got their teeth together, and the whole face has dropped down. But of course, that is how ancestral teeth were. That's normal. We're nowhere close to normal now. And of course, you can get this muscular weakness happening late in life. Here's Stephen Hawking. He's getting married. He's completely grown. You can see him using a cane. And you can see how his face has completely changed shape. Yeah? And what I'm saying, it's a bit like if you have a stroke. If you have a stroke, one side of your face drops down. And remember, that is only the surface muscles. I've seen people that have had a muscular injury, a road traffic accident, and they've cut the trigeminal nerve. And then the power muscle, this one, and this one, they've been damaged, and it's crazy. This was someone 40 I watched, and it was almost every day his face got worse. And, I've got odd examples here. But you see, when you look at our ancestors, they were using their teeth. You can see how much they were wearing these teeth down. Now, I'm not saying that we need to do that anymore, but I'm saying that this is a sign of what has happened, because medicine, it's about treating the causes, but you can only treat the causes if you understand the causes of the problem. And of course, when I talk change of mode of breathing, here was a young boy who gained a complete nasal obstruction from some gerbils he had in his bedroom. And look what it did to his face. So you've got these two things. One, the muscles. We know the muscles are important. And one, the posture of the face, hanging the face open. We know both of these are fantastically, massively important. And put together, this is the main cause. So what's happening is the whole face changes shape. So again, so I'll screen share. So what's happening? As the face drops down, it's a little bit like you've got this kid's toy, and you plastic head, and you stretch the head like this. Yeah? And as you stretch it, it's going to get narrower and shallower, and there's less cross-sectional area. That's the problem.
So, okay? like if we would narrow it down, it's like, would you say it's just like, I guess you would say like breastfeeding is the best start for every kid?
Yeah. Right. So breastfeeding, if I was going to go down to the next factors down, so we start with the two big ones, is this, we're not using the system, then we're hanging our mouths open. Now, breastfeeding is vitally important. In ways, breastfeeding encourages you to keep your mouth shut and breathe through your nose. So that's quite important in really encouraging people to get a closed mouth. It encourages you to put your tongue in the right place and work your tongue, which develops this section of the face. Also, I believe, I've not really got the evidence for it, but I believe it's going to reduce your chance of getting allergies and things. And also, it helps with general development. So I think breastfeeding would be the next one down if I was to start looking for other factors. And I think it relates to these two factors, but I'm trying to keep it simple here. I'm trying to keep the simplest level, because keep it simple, stupid. If you want an idea to get across, keep it simple. But I think breastfeeding is fantastically important. But it's also, the point is, if you're going to breastfeed, you can't use pacifiers or dummies. You can't start spoon feeding. I'm not spoon feeding, bottle feeding, and all the other things. So it's got to be pure breastfeeding. Nothing but breastfeeding. If you introduce one other thing, then there's no point in breastfeeding. And sorry to be harsh on that, but you've got to be harsh. And then when you start to introduce food, you've got to follow, in my humble opinion, this baby-led weaning, where you're introducing tough food. If you have to put it on a spoon and it's mush, you probably shouldn't be giving it to your child. There was a real lack of blenders 10,000 years ago. No one had any. And, the first time, you try that baby food and you put it in your child's mouth, and the first thing they do is, and all the baby food comes splat out their mouth, because they are not supposed to eat that type of food. Then what you do, so, babies are supposed to suckle, adults are supposed to swallow. And when a baby is a lot older, like I believe 6 to 9 months at minimum, then they could be ready for swallowing. And then they're going to want tough food. So you start giving them tough food, and initially all they're going to do is play with the food. They don't need the nutrition, because you're gaining your nutrition from breastfeeding. And then you look in their nappy to see how much stuff they're actually taking on board, because lots of it come out solid still. And gently you move them across to this solid food. And I think that's the best pattern of progression. And I worry that I see a lot of people who are saying, I'm breastfeeding, but they're also giving their children this incredibly soft food. And if you give this soft food and you give it early, then your child does not need to transition from an infantile suckle to an adult swallow. And Maria, you have never done that. I can see, looking at your face, that you are still doing a modified adult suckle. So when you swallow, I can see just from the muscles on your face, you swallow sucking in. Like that. And that sucks your teeth in, and it sucks your teeth backwards. But then I would say 85% of the people have an element of that. You're a little bit more obvious, but you can look. Muscles are defined by their usage. So if you're incorrectly using a muscle, you can usually see that from the size of the muscle, the size and shape of the muscle. And we do this thing where we can read faces. And I can usually read someone's face and what they're doing wrong with looking. Excuse me for the personal.
Okay, it's okay.
So anyway, I want to describe what's happening. I'm saying these faces are what we refer to as down swinging. So if I share that screen again, so what you're seeing here is a face. Now, what I'm saying is this face is much more akin to an ancestral face. It's really prognatic, like that image of that girl I showed you earlier on. And so what then happens is the face starts to downswing. It starts to melt down and backwards. But as it melts down and backwards, that's a generic lengthening. Now, what people have to do is, as your face drops down and back, the cross-sectional area reduces. So, and that's malocclusion. You don't have space for your wisdom teeth, then you don't have space for other teeth because you've got less space in your mouth. It's longer, but it's thinner and it's shallower. And that's malocclusion. But, I'm the orthodontist that doesn't really worry about crooked teeth. I'm more worried about what else is in there. And what else is in there is your tongue and your airway. So you have to come up with a strategy, a personalized strategy, so that you can continue to breathe, talk, eat, have reasonable body posture, and all of these other things. So you're going to move where you place your tongue so that you can continue to do these things. And depending where you move your tongue will depend what type of crookedness you get. So the classic two patterns of change, either you, as the face drops down, as I just described, you put your tongue evenly between the teeth. And that will gain you the class 1, as we refer to as normal bite. I don't like that term, normal bite. Okay. Then we have the idea of a class 2, and that's when you do this. And then we have this term class 3 when you do this. And this is better illustrated in the next slide where we break those down. So in this next slide, once we get going, you can see they're all go. This is the first one, class 1. This is everything drops symmetrically, evenly. Class 2, the bottom jaw hinges back. And then class 3, there's it. But you try that, exactly the class 3, this last one. If you drop your tongue into your bottom jaw and you hold your bottom jaw forward, you can breathe. Great. You can breathe. It's not a problem. Problem is that it's changed the shape of your face. Because we know that the face's bones are incredibly malleable. We like to think of them as set in stone. We want to think of these problems as being genetic. The way your face grows is genetic. Well, I'm sorry, but the hard scientific evidence all shows that's not true. So, it is literally like we've become a different species. And with that, we're getting problems. Sorry, Maria.
So it's just amazing looking through your book or for example, this shows so many different how the appearance, how the face is changing once I don't know what all is done, but once the right swallowing, the right breathing method, and more is done. Incredible.
I mean, you can, and I treat kids, and I have a system of treating kids, but it's not economic to do. The purest method that I do it's not economic. I literally almost killed myself working for a decade trying to get this system working properly and trying to treat kids. I can do it. I believe that I can take any child and grow them to be very beautiful. That's the wrong word, isn't it? I grow them to be very healthy, to have great facial architecture. But of course, anyone with great facial architecture looks beautiful. And in a way, that's held us back. Because when I say, I can grow them to be beautiful, that's instantly conjuring up all these images in people's heads. And, what am I trying to do? Breed a new race? No, I'm trying to help people gain their full genetic potential. What they were designed to do. Look at those guys in ancestral groups. Look at the guys Weston Price was looking at. Before they had this change, they were all of them growing with great healthy faces. And interesting with Weston Price, because we all eat processed food. Either you buy it pre-processed or you use your inbuilt processing unit. And if you don't use your inbuilt processing unit, you won't develop a good processing unit. And that's it.
That's well said.
If I wanted to go down the gym and I wanted to really use this body, I'd get a bigger body. No one's going to deny that. I could go down the gym, I could, without taking steroids, just taking a good healthy diet and going to the gym a couple of times a week, come back in a year and I'd have a bigger body. Who's going to disagree? Who's going to say that's nonsense? Well, if I knew what I was doing and I was going to start using my inbuilt processor, I could build a better processor. And the thing is, something with the right architecture works well. And all of the functions, this shape, this thing is associated with, is dependent on it having good architecture. You know, all of those indigenous people, they didn't need any orthodontics to make their teeth straight.
Could you give like an advice to parents what to look out for? I'm just remembering when my kids were little and we had for a short time at TV, there was the typical TV face. The TV face, as we all know, is like, yeah, but next to the typical TV face, I mean, what can you say to parents?
I'm amazed how parents bring their child to me. And of course, everyone loves their child, as they should do. But, you know, it's difficult because, again, we're talking about the emotive thing. It has your child grown beautifully. And it's very emotive to decide that. One good tip is that between the ages of sort of 4 to 6, around 5 years old, you should have, or this is what my grandfather was taught. My grandfather was taught that if you didn't have space between all of the upper front teeth, so between all of these teeth here, and here, at least, if not here and here as well. Now that is something in the region of 2 millimeters in each of those spaces. If you didn't have 2 millimeters in each of those spaces, which is something in the region of 6 to 10 millimeters of space around 5 years old, you were going to have problems in the future. Now, the way people write old texts and old medical, it's a little bit, you know, they're not as precise as they are now. But you can understand, you gain the impression, having read these texts, that it was a small percentage of the population didn't have that much space. Now, that was around 1914 and 1920, around then. Okay? And, well, I almost never, ever see children with that much space. But I don't think I've ever seen a child with that much space. And you get the impression that that was unusual back then. So, you know, this is giving you some impression of the incredible change that's happened just in 100 years. Because that's almost exactly 100 years ago. So
what do we need? What do children or what do we need?
Okay, so I've got a video. I'll send you a link for it.
Yes, perfect.
Called the 5-point prevention plan. The summary is of point 1: stand up straight and shut your mouth. That's not a new idea. Number 2, just encourage your kids to chew gum. Okay? And I would say chew gum from when they come home from school till when they go to bed. I know it's not what everyone thinks, but it's simple. Use the system. And people go, oh, but I don't like aspartame. Well, hey, I don't like sleep apnea much either. And that's much more likely to kill you early. And I think that if your face doesn't grow well and your tongue's in your airway, that's what I think is the cause of sleep apnea. People with great forward-growing faces, they don't get sleep apnea. Those indigenous populations, they don't get sleep apnea. And I tell you, that's a bigger problem than aspartame. And there's lots of aspartame-free chewing gums. You know, there's lots of tough chewing gums out there. But just chew. Then, when you're, then consider lip taping. So have a little look at it. Check that you can, check with your doctor. Don't take my advice for it. Go and research that, but consider lip taping every night. Then engage with the mealtime exercise. And this is a really, really good exercise. And you need to sit opposite your children, because when are we using this system? When we're eating. And there's a really interesting system. Super secret. Don't tell anyone. Okay? It's sit up straight, elbows off the table, eat with your mouth shut, chew your food properly, food to you, not you to your food, don't speak when you're eating, and when you do swallow, chin tuck, and bite together. Now, that's not very new. That's not very secret. Confucius was saying that 3,000 years ago. So were the Victorians. So did every society that had tables and chairs was saying the same thing. They've all got it in their cultural history. Now, either that's magic or there was a very good reason for it. You know, they say that the elderly people should be walking 10 brisk minutes every day because it's going to reduce their chance of so many problems. Now, if I could get young children from a formative age to do 30 to 40 minutes good exercise like that, it would be profound. And I mean, the most important thing is the lips only come apart for the food going in and only allow small bits of food in. And this is your battle zone. It's the dinner table. You know, really get your kids to sit up straight. And if you get them doing that all the time, well, I think that's half the battle won. And there's nothing new in this. This is as old as the hills. You know, what I'm saying could be summed up with, shut your mouth or the wind will change and your face will set like that. Now, I don't know if you have that phrase in Germany, but you certainly have that phrase in the UK. And there's nothing new. This is ancient. And the answers, the cures are ancient. You know, okay, if you don't want chewing gum, get tougher food. But it really needs to be really much tougher.
Yeah.
And you need to get rid of all those easy calories. Because, you know, if they can have that hot chocolate, then they don't need to eat as many other things. And this hot chocolate to eat those calories are easy. You're not using these for those calories. So cut out the sugar, cut out the desserts. There's no desserts. My kids don't have desserts in the week. They have no desserts and they drink water. That's it. What more do you need? You're going to stay alive with that. And you know, you want tough food. Make it tough. Okay, and that's my 5. And then the final point of the prevention plan is get good records. And you get good records by, you know, if you've got a Zoom camera, take your child, sit them on the other side of the room, preferably in a well-lit room. Artificial lighting's best because it's reproducible. Get a perfect profile, and take a photograph. And I've got you look up the medical facial overlay. Medical facial overlay. And I'll give a little lecture on how to overlay photographs and watch your child. Because, you know, this is so important. This is how your child's face is going to grow. And you need to take records to see if what you're doing is working or if it's not working.
So can you stretch the importance of nose breathing versus mouth breathing? Okay,
so there's 2 things about nose and mouth breathing. One is where the air goes. If the air comes through your mouth, okay, it goes into your lungs completely unfiltered. And I think, and this is my hunch, if you breathe through your nose, you identify the elements coming in through your nose. You pass that message into the body. So if something turns up in the lungs and it matches something that you identified with, the body goes, oh yeah, okay, that's something we recognized. It came through the nose. Don't worry about it. Yep, it was breathed in. If something arrives in the lungs because you breathed it in your mouth, and the body goes, well, we don't recognize this. The body goes, help, what's this thing? Let's set up an allergic reaction to it. And what are we seeing? Allergic reactions, going up like that. Absolutely crazy. And maybe mouth breathing is related to that. We don't know. The next thing is, if you're breathing through your mouth, your tongue can't be on the roof of the mouth. The lips can't be together. And your tongue is not driving the face. So the whole purpose of that breastfeeding was to get the tongue working on the roof of the mouth. You know, they talk about the incisive papilla, and they think that when you massage that with your tongue, it releases endorphins. and that's why babies want to breastfeed, or it's why they're going to suck their thumb or use a pacifier come dummy to get that endorphins. That's why they're doing it. Well, this is vital for the growth of the face. So the tongue goes on the roof of the mouth and works on the roof of the mouth. If you're going to breathe out of your mouth, you're going to break that vital reflex. And then that becomes a habit where and if you're doing this and you've got weak muscle, how are you going to grow? And that's most of you. There we go. I'm saying that not one or two, all of you, everyone watching this video, you have been majorly infected. And it's getting worse every year. Just ask your parents or your grandparents how many people needed orthodontics. Yes, there was less orthodontics available. Yes, people weren't so discerning about how their teeth were. But people had straighter teeth, better faces. Go and look, go Google it. Go back and see what faces looked like 100 years ago. Not everyone. No, particularly not the rich and wealthy. Because they were the first people affected by these problems. Because they could live on milk and honey before the rest of the people could. So, but go and see the common people. Go and see the people in the fields, in the agriculture. They had much more solid, well-developed faces. And if you have a solid, well-developed face, it works better.
Do you ever have somebody coming to you with crooked teeth who actually are nose breathers, like classic nose breathers?
Well, this is an incredibly complex picture. And of course, what I'm saying is that it's the amount of time you do something. And also it's the period you do that in. So let's say you spent from 2 years old till 9 years old like this. Then at 9 years old, you went, oh, that's usually puberty. Usually when you hit puberty and you go, oh, this looks stupid. And you close your mouth. It's a bit late then. Sorry. So I get people coming in who are complete nose breathers. One day you might be a nose breather. One day you might be a mouth breather. Or you might be a nose breather with your mouth open. Now I'm nose breathing.
Okay.
How's my face going to grow with that type of nose breathing?
Yeah.
Ain't pretty.
So, I understand, as you just said, what to look for when, for example, when the children already have signs that the teeth are crowded. So, what about teenagers or adults? How can they improve their?
Yeah, well, okay. So this is the whole big thing that's made me famous. I put these ideas out on the internet. Because I wanted to get things going. And, I wanted to get something to go viral. And, oh crumbs, has this gone viral? So I am now famous. And this thing has been called mewing. So, I remember I gave this lecture. I didn't really expect it to go anywhere. I have no idea. But people, I was swamped at the end of the lecture. Basically the entire audience had come down and there was me packing my stuff away. So I'm about to leave. I only gave the lecture because it was right by my girlfriend was working. And so now my wife, then met me at the end of the lecture. And literally I was trying to make it to the door. And I'm just swamped with people around me. And they're all saying, well, how can I make my face better? And I'm going, if you want to look at the lecture, I'll put a link for it. It's called the Mike Mew, the 21 Convention. So have a little look at that lecture, look at the video. That's the one that made me famous. And I explained this. I used some of the same slides, actually, I showed you. And they all wanted to know how they could make their face look better. Now, clearly, that's not quite what I'm doing. I'm taking kids with really messed up faces, so messed up they've got crooked teeth. Because I'm saying crooked teeth, sleep apnea, many ENT problems are symptoms of a face that doesn't grow well. So they're not problems themselves. My argument is that these things are symptoms of incorrect facial growth. You know, that thing that if a face isn't the right shape, it doesn't work properly. So I think these guys, I'm swamped by these guys, and they're saying, well, what can I do? And I go, well, you know, it's really, really hard to change. You know, it's like, you know, how many people actually lose weight permanently? How many people actually make this magnificent change in body form without steroids and things? How many people go from being the bottom of the class to the top of the class? You know, these are tough things to do. Yeah, it's really tough thing to do. And I said, you know, I think you'd be crazy to try. But on the other hand, you'd be crazy not to. What else are you doing with your face? No, this is bloody. So, and they tried, and they kicked it out the ballpark. They really did. So, I'll show you an image here. You know, I see pictures like this all the time. I mean, there's this big debate. Everyone goes, "Oh, that must be surgery. No way that guy could have got that face without surgery." Well, I don't believe you. You know, from my experience and what I understand, I see things like that happening, you know, because a number of people have come in. I've not always got great photographs of them, but I'm seeing changes. And of course, if you had a stroke, one side of your face would drop down. So kind of, this is the opposite of a stroke. Evenly.
So it's really incredible. I looked at videos. I mean, they're especially. I mean, I looked at some Americans, but also Asians, and for them, it's so important to have a really defined jawline. And it's just amazing, the before and after pictures. Just amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's literally. I mean, it's, you know, I see. So to try and get an understanding of the progress of this, I've been watching TikTok, because TikTok gives you a nice sort of listing. Okay. And the hashtag mewing, so this became called mewing. My surname is Mew, and so it's my surname kind of derivated. And this has had, to date, I checked today, 2.4 billion hits. That's crazy. And that's literally, that's just one metrics that affects one segment of the world. You know, it's apparently amazing. I'm massive in China.
It's amazing. So what do people actually do to practice mewing?
It takes a little bit of time. If you go to my channel, I'm again, so Maria, you know, if you keep a list of all these links I'm sending.
Yes.
I'll give you the swallowing training series, you know, what your playlist. Swallowing training playlist. I can give you that. That was the initial playlist I made. I'm about to release an app, and I'm hoping that app will be out in about a month's time. And it'll be called Mewing App, funny enough.
Perfect.
And it should go through in real, you know, granular detail what you should do, because I haven't put much out there, and I've got a lot to say. But, you know, my life's tough. You know, people don't like what I'm doing. Because if I'm right, I'm invalidating modern orthodontics. You know, it's fine. If you want your teeth made straight, great. You know, you can go and have your teeth made straight. You've got Invisalign, you've got normal fixed braces, you've got, you know, there's 101 different ways to straighten your teeth. And great, if that's what you want, you know, you can have that. But I think people should be telling you there's other alternatives. So, I think people should be telling you about prevention.
So what about, like, for example, when teeth are straightened with braces? Like, yep. I mean, there are some like orthodontists who put more in concern than just putting the teeth straight, but often just the teeth are straight and maybe they missed a few points, like the rest of the body. And what about the retainer?
Well, okay, all right. So if we know that the teeth, okay, they sit in this balance zone. They sit, so you've got the cheeks on the outside, cheeks and lips on the outside, and you've got the tongue in the middle. Okay? So it's this balance between the two of them. If you're going to have your teeth straightened, someone's clearly going to move the teeth out of this balance zone. Okay? So if you haven't had your teeth straightened, your teeth are safe. They're sitting in a safe place because they're in their equilibrium state. Now, if you have your teeth straightened, you're clearly moving the teeth out of that equilibrium state. Now, that's okay if you change the causes of the problem. But my worry, and I don't yet have lots of evidence for this, but my worry is that people are straightening teeth up and holding them there forever. And you can do that with the teeth, but I worry that you can't do that for the bone and surrounding structures. And in time, the bone will go back to where it came from, leaving the teeth unsupported. And that's my worry. And so, there's no way around that.
So like classic orthodontists with braces, like they have a retainer. And I remember like before, in my youth, they had a retainer for a few years, but now it says like the retainer, like this is like your forever
Why?
thing.
Why do you think they did that?
Because the teeth are moving back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you haven't fixed the cause of the problem.
So, what about like with your approach, as you're saying, your set is not directly on the teeth. Your set is on
Now, because I'm speaking to a German audience, I'm going to bring out a different appliance. Okay. So this is a Frankel appliance. Mm-hmm. And it was developed by Rolf Frankel in East Germany. Mm-hmm. Okay. And the idea with this appliance, so what it does is it has these, what we refer to as buccal shields. So those are going to hold the cheeks back. If you hold the cheeks and lower lip back, well, that's going to allow the teeth to naturally expand. And Dr. Frankel, he ran a great clinic in Eastern Europe and he had a great following. And he was treating much closer to the causes of the problems. And in addition, the top edge here, it does more than just hold the cheeks out. Because if you do the wrong swallow where you suck in, then the top edge will rub and it's uncomfortable. So not only does it change the balance, but it changes your behavior. So with these edges rubbing, you gain a permanent effect, not just a temporary effect. So my father was the first British orthodontist to go and meet Frankel. And we had Frankel came and visited me when I was a child. I can't remember. But my father would walk into the clinic and these young East German, he would smile and say morning. And these young East German boys never smiled back on girls, never smiled back. You can't smile when you're wearing one of those appliances. You can't make any facial expression. Because if you do, it's uncomfortable. And that trains you to change. Well, of course, we had Frankel with his braces, and in walks Edward Angle, or the Angle system, the braces, the fixed braces, from America. Well, what makes a better business model? This complex, difficult appliance that's uncomfortable, kids don't like it, but it's treating the causes, or closer to the causes of the problem. Or you've got fixed braces that are going to make the teeth straight. And you don't need to worry about the compliance of the child. Because the parents are paying for straight teeth. And what do they get? They get straight teeth. That's what they pay for. Because that's a better business proposition. But you go and start asking for Frankels. Anyone watching this video, if you want your kid treated, if you're in Germany, you're in the home of Frankel appliances.
Do you know those?
The Brace. Well, that might not be there's many companies. Okay.
Yeah, this is.
Okay. So the first company coming out with those was called Braces, and they were basically a copy of our system, BioBlock. Okay. And I'll talk to you a little bit. I mean, they're all different, these systems, but the system I use called BioBlock, is part of orthotropics. So orthotropics is a concept of orthodontics is straight teeth. I want orthotropics, which is straight growth. Straight or correct. It's the same thing, orthos. And I want to make straight or correct growth. I don't care about the teeth. People whose faces are the correct architecture tend to have straight teeth. People whose faces aren't good architecture tend to have crooked teeth. Don't try to make the teeth straight. Try to change how the face develops. I think that's a better way to go. And of course, what I want to do is I want to stop them hanging the mouth open, and I want them to build the muscles up. So having gained some preliminary expansion, I've got this boy here and I've gained some, this is near the end of treatment anyway, but principally what I want him to do, I want to stop them dropping their mouth down. So I have this appliance that fits in the mouth, fits in like this. So here you can't see the appliance much, but around the back you can see it's got these two wings that stick out. It's got those two wings, and the wings curve underneath here and they curve underneath here. So that if you drop your jaw down, ow, it's going to be uncomfortable. Mm. So you keep your mouth shut, and you need to work your muscles to hold your jaw there. And if you do that all the time, it develops a decent face. But it's incredibly tough to use. You're trying to make an appliance that, like the Frankel appliance, it's an uncomfortable appliance. It needs to be worn all the time. And every year, food's getting softer. People are on these devices more. Children get less willing to obey their parents. I mean, it's more difficult. Parents get less willing to push their children. That's why you've got to look at prevention. If we had the schools backing it up, if the kids had to sit up straight at school as well as home, that would help. If they did more sports, if they did more exercise, that would help. Yeah, I'm just trying to raise awareness of this. So I'm saying, wake up, notice this. This is really happening. And in the UK, they're trying to, they're trying to knock me. They're trying to take me to court to take my license for saying these things. The court case against me is a philosophical case. It's not, who's done what. It's a philosophical case, and they're taking me to, my regulators take me to court because they want to stop me. And that's what happens.
This is just so amazing what you do, and how the message, how much that can change for children.
But it can be, but it's just, as I say, it is not cost effective to do what I do. Who makes money? A dietitian or a liposurgeon?
Yeah, absolutely.
And who's making the real health benefit? Doesn't pay to treat the causes, doesn't pay to prevent. Even with a simple message, stand up straight, shut your mouth, build your muscles up. But as much as it's not what the profession want to do, it is, if the public knew about it, this is precisely what they would want. Look at all these kids doing the mewing. And I can tell you, I know, because I work changing faces. And I know that it's really difficult. I see cases where I get a really nice improvement in facial form. And you can see it. The parents can see it. Everyone can see it. But to show that on two photographs, it's really tough to see. And so these guys with these facial form, these changes, they must be incredible changes to see. And so I know, mewing's got legs. There's no way it's going to stop, because people can see they're getting better. They can feel they're getting better. So you don't need to get these dramatic changes. The number of mails I get from people who are better with jaw joints, who are better with sleep apnea, who are better with body posture, their headaches or their pain's gone, their neck problems gone. It's crazy. Maybe they're all lying to me. I don't know.
I mean, when I was reading through your books, so I thought about, at the moment, this, Nico, the osteonecrosis in the jaw, which is now a big issue. Do you know what I mean?
Osteoradionecrosis.
Yeah, this is the necrosis, which is supposedly happening when teeth, the wisdom teeth are extracted, and this is not cured, and then there's some necrosis happening in the jaw.
Yeah.
And when I was reading through it, and I thought, I mean, this is just like my pure imagination, through changing the posture, like breathing through the nose, having the jaw exactly where it should be, like the joint, then like the lymph would naturally
I give a lecture on this.
way better.
I give a lecture on this, and I say, isn't it interesting how you see acne, and it's purely defined. It maps out, you know, this acne kids have on their face. It maps the lymphatic drainage area of the face perfectly.
Magic.
I mean, and then you think, well, what's going on? And another thing, you know, I've had people write to me. They said I started mewing, my acne disappeared.
Yeah.
You know, I've given a lecture on that actually at the Ancestral Health Forum, or the Ancestral Health Symposium, one of the lectures, I think, about 2-3 years ago. But it's, you know, it's all there. All I'm asking for, and this is my big quest, is I want to have a professional debate on why are teeth crooked. That's what I want to debate on.
So
because it's not much. It's not difficult to ask for. That's what I want. Because, you know, we're supposed to be a scientific, this is supposed to be a science. And I'm saying, if crooked teeth and the way our faces grow is due to the environment, then we need to be looking at what I'm saying. We need to be trying to understand these problems. If it's due to the genes, then I must be wrong. Move along. But to openly admit as a profession we don't know the cause and then not engage in debate. I mean, these are professionals that are in charge of the health of your children. We need that debate. And, you know, if you can support me, I'm on the website Prevent Crooked Teeth, because we should be looking at prevention. You know, that was the final link I'd like you to put up there. Prevent Crooked Teeth. Because, you know, that's where you can come and support me. That's where you can see what we're doing. Because that's how, you know, that's where we need to go. I mean, don't have my treatment. It's too complex. It's too hard. Don't have any treatment. Get prevention. That's the name of the game. And my embrace is not a bad way, but still, if you're in Germany, go and wake up these people doing Frankels, bang on their door, get them out of retirement, get them working again. Because that's the great answer. You know, Germany had those answers. You know, you have more compliant children. You've got a natural attitude in Germany to look at the whole, to look at, you know, holistic medicine. It's a natural disposition in Germany. You know, go and look at the whole. Don't just have the teeth straightened up and held there forever, out from where they want to go. That ain't going to be good. You know that.
So we're making a huge shout out for all our listeners, all our viewers, like all who are in the profession, professors and whoever. Just please, when you feel like you want to add your spark to that, please contact Dr. Mew.
No, please, no. I have 100 mails a day. Please, no, don't try and contact me. I would, though, as far as professors go, I would, you know, I have never in my career had a proper, in-depth, meaningful conversation with any professor of orthodontics or anyone in orthodontics. You know, don't sit there and say, oh, he's wrong. Have a debate with me. Okay? Just debate with me. Support me in my quest to find the answers. Starting with why are teeth crooked? And please join the campaign. Sign the petition on Prevent Crooked Teeth. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Oh, it's a blessing. Thank you so much for the work you're doing.